Today, we're going to dive into a culture war that you've probably never even heard of, but its echoes, believe me, they are everywhere. We're heading back to the late 17th century, to a time when one single book tried to burn down the entire London theater scene.
The stage promotes vice, undermines morality. I mean, wow, those are some pretty heavy words, right? This one sentence, written way back in 1698, launched an absolute firestorm. The guy behind it was Jeremy Collier, and he was convinced the entertainment of his day was completely morally bankrupt. So you have to wonder, what on earth was happening on stage that was so outrageous?
Well, to really get why Collier was so furious, we need to understand the world he was pushing back against, the wild theater of Restoration England.
Okay, try to picture this. For more than a decade, strict Puritan rule had not just discouraged theaters, they'd literally shut them all down. Then, the monarchy's restored, and boom, culture just explodes back to life. But we're not talking about Shakespeare here. Oh no, this was a totally new kind of theater. It was like a rebellion in entertainment form, super cynical, incredibly clever, and absolutely packed with sexual innuendo.
And this right here, this is basically the recipe for everything Collier found so offensive. You had playwrights who were openly making fun of traditional values, their characters were often morally corrupt, and the stories they told seemed to fly directly in the face of Christian beliefs. For a lot of people, this was exciting, it was fresh. But for others, it was a sure sign that society was starting to crumble.
And right into this glittering, scandalous world steps our main character, a man who looked at the theater and didn't see entertainment. He saw a poison, and he thought it was spreading right through the heart of society.
So Jeremy Collier was an English clergyman, and he had these deeply held moral beliefs. But to really understand his passion, you have to see him as more than just some grumpy critic. He was part of this conservative movement that was really unsettled by all the huge political and social changes happening. For him, the theater wasn't just a bit of fun, it was a symptom of a society that had completely lost its moral compass.
So how did one man decide to take on the entire theatrical establishment? He used the most powerful weapon he had at the time, the printed word.
And he did not pull any punches. I mean, the title says it all, doesn't it? This wasn't some gentle suggestion box, it was a full-on assault. In this book, Collier meticulously laid out his case against the stage, accusing playwrights of corrupting the soul of the nation, one witty, immoral play at a time. His whole argument basically stood on three main pillars. First, he flat-out condemned the plays for promoting vice and lewdness. Second, he attacked their use of profanity and what he saw as total blasphemy. And third, and this is the real kicker, he argued that theater had a higher purpose. Its job wasn't just to entertain. Its job was to provide moral instruction.
And this is where the fundamental conflict really lies. The theater of the day, it was all about entertaining people, reflecting life, and showing off clever writing. But Collier demanded that it serve as a tool for promoting virtue. These two completely different ideas of what art is even for were on a collision course.
As you can probably imagine, Collier's book didn't just sit quietly on a shelf. Nope, it ignited a massive public debate that got so big it became known as the Collier controversy.
And this wasn't some quiet, academic disagreement. You should think of it like a modern-day social media war, except it was all fought through printed pamphlets that were passed all around London. Playwrights, critics, members of the public, everybody jumped in to either defend or attack the stage.
And Collier, he did not back down, not one bit. After his first big shot in 1698, he immediately published a follow-up the next year, digging into the psychological damage he thought these plays were causing. Then, in 1700, he went right after one of the most famous playwrights of the time, William Congreve, in a public letter. The fight was now personal, and it was relentless.
So, what was the end result of all of this? Did Collier actually win? Well, it's complicated. But his campaign had a lasting impact that, honestly, we can still feel today. You know, Collier's critique really did change things. That wild, scandalous era of Restoration comedy started to fade away. The whole movement for more ethical standards in plays started to gain momentum, and that pushed the literature of the 18th century to become much more morally focused. But maybe most importantly, it sparked one of the very first major public debates about censorship and the moral duty of an artist.
And that's really why this all matters.
Every single time we debate whether a movie is too violent, or if a song has explicit lyrics, or whether a certain book is appropriate for schools, we are basically reliving the exact same argument that Jeremy Collier started over 300 years ago. He helped frame that fundamental question, where do you draw the line between artistic freedom and social responsibility?
So, we're left with the same exact question that drove Collier's entire crusade, and it's a question that's just as relevant today as it was in 1698. Should art have a moral responsibility?